All right, so, fuck yes. Welcome to After the Hype. And your host is always Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Howdy ho.
CHEWIE Darso.
Hello.
And Sam Garrison.
Hello.
Sitting in this week
I got
again.
it always.
Yeah. Well, you've been on 4 in a row. I feel like I can say it at this point. Since Emily had to take 2 weekends off, and the 2 weekends we're recording 2 episodes. She could not have lined up better.
She was available the weekend of our baby shower.
That's true. When we weren't here, she was available. Oh, well.
Timing.
This week, we have a very special guest. We have Mackenzie Peykov back.
Hello.
Hi, Mackenzie. Very rarely we have you on to not talk about animated films. Today is such an occasion.
I'll be animated to talk about this.
Not drawing you for the breakdown, sorry.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh, man.
If you were
Damn it, I'm leaving.
If you were an animator for the breakdown, that would have been amazing.
Also, couldn't do that in a couple days.
Yeah, I feel like we just quickly see a thing and be like, I don't got time
I'll
for
give you a
this.
whole week. It's going to be okay.
Okay, yeah.
We could do an Attack on Titan style, just a slideshow.
Yeah.
And even still, though, a week later, how far did you get? 3 seconds?
She's waved. She's waved.
Just put the poster filter on her.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Just shrink the breakdown. I can do it in 5 seconds. It'll be fine.
Growing up.
Exactly. That's
Did
all
it.
it is. That's all it is.
Girl and mom fight.
Yeah. We'll do a quick where have you been doing. I can go first. I have rewatched seasons 1 through 5. Yeah, 1 through 5 of Archer over the past 2 weeks, and I love the fuck out of Archer. Adam Reed just he knows how to just target my funny bone, unlike almost any writer out there today. Going all the way back to C-Lab 2021, like his stuff just destroys me. I honestly don't get it, like because a lot of his jokes carry over from like show to show to show. Like he does a lot of literary jokes that I just find fucking hysterical.
He's also got a cadence to all the his humor over time that you just get into the flow of it. And
Yeah, and
I
like
also just love screaming, "We can never go back to Arizona."
whenever somebody says Arizona, absolutely I scream, "We can never go back to Arizona."
That goes through my head too, and I have to hold it back because no one at work will understand what I'm saying.
God help you if you break a bowl around me. That's our last bowl. Like it just brings me joy. And
now, like when people leave food on the floor at home, or like the kid does, like, this is how we get ants.
We've also learned we will always have ants in this apartment.
yeah,
No matter what we do.
Yeah, it was just kind of unfortunate when it comes to that. But no, so
Building
going,
is cursed.
it really is. Flies in the summer, ants in the winter. Yay. But no, so going through Archer again and going back to the beginning, it's kind of funny because he came fresh off of Extacles, which was a show they tried at Adult Swim and was canceled almost immediately, and kind of rightfully so. It didn't really work that well without Killface and Awesome X there. So he came into this show, and watching the beginning of Archer, it feels like an extension of Frisky Dingo. Like the characters all talk the same. They even have some of the same actors who came back, and like the cadence of dialogue and everything. It's basically Frisky Dingo season 3, but with none of like the craziness of Frisky Dingo. And then as the show goes on, it really finds its own voice and just turns into one of the funniest shows that's ever been on TV. And now they're just doing incredibly brilliant things where they're just, all right, so this is Archer Dreamland, where he's a PI detective, and it's just like crazy alternate reality, but with the characters of Archer. And they just announced what season 9 is going to be, but I don't remember what that is. But it's the same sort of thing, this crazy, outlandish scenario with the characters from Archer. And it's like, it's so smart and like a really cool way to keep your show like fresh and new and exciting. And I can't sing the praises of just Adam Reed and company in general.
I still miss them actually working for ISIS, but I think one of the reasons they had to stop doing that is because of the real ISIS.
Because of the real... Well, they still work for that company in season 6, and then 7's when he starts the private eye firm.
Yeah.
And then 8 is when they start doing the craziness, but it all still works. It's all still funny, but yeah, I mean,
Didn't they do Archer Vice for a minute?
That was
too?
5.
did.
That was
Season 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Archer Vice is one of my favorite seasons of any show.
Is it really?
It's so good.
They kind of lost me for a minute.
They did for it took my second or third watch of the whole
ramps
season
up.
for me to actually enjoy it. Because the first time I watched it, I'm like, this just doesn't feel the same. And then after I kind of get, well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's really just, it's a big parody, and it's just fucking, and it's when Pam really becomes the Pam that I like the cokehead crazy Pam, and then she gets really like self-conscious because she gets skinny but has huge boobs, and she's very happy about her boobs but is unhappy about being skinny, and it's like, it's just fucking hilarious.
Pam
like,
is just one of the greatest characters.
she really is. And there's like a behind the scenes videos of like how like the voice people will fuck with her by making her eat like 1,000 bear claws to get like one line. And like, oh yeah, we got in the beginning. We just want to see how many you'd eat. It's like, it's funny. It's good shit. I can get lost down like the Archer and just like Adam Reed rabbit hole so hard. Like today in the shower, I was watching Frisky Dingo again just because I had to. Hey, our pants. Anyhow,
Your showers have gotten longer since you started watching TV during them.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, quick question.
Yeah.
You watch TV in the shower?
Well, some people listen to music. Some people don't do anything. And I realized that I have a waterproof phone that can stream Hulu. Why not just watch TV in the shower?
Yeah, his showers have gotten a lot longer.
I was going to say, like, how much time are you spending
Don't live
the
in a
shower?
house.
I went from about 10 to 15 minute shower to a 15 to 20 minute shower.
Thank
Not
God
that much
for all
longer.
this rain because Brian is the California drought.
He's destroying our water supply. Got
And
it.
now we know who to blame.
Yeah.
Brian Dressel and almonds.
No shame. Brian Dressel and the thing that would kill him. We have one thing in common. We hate water.
Or just
They would kill me
grass.
too. Almonds would kill me too.
I brain.
Fuck
grass.
almonds.
People
Right?
should stop having grass.
Almonds are bullshit.
I've
Fuck
never
'em.
thought about
Boosh.
multitasking in the shower, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
You clearly never seen that Seinfeld episode.
Oh, cooking dinner in the shower?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Oh my God. If I could do
Great
that, I
idea.
totally would.
How do you install a food disposal system in my tub?
I just feel like I'm already doing something in the shower. Like, I'm busy when I'm in there. I don't need to, like, do other things.
I contemplate all my poor life choices. And
I
just
watch
stand there-
TV.
And I just stand there for a while, like, oh.
All right, but John, where have you been doing?
Yeah.
Speaking of poor life choices, I watched Doctor Strange on Netflix.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad.
Bad. It's got Tilda and Mad.
No,
You
no,
shut
it's not.
your whore mouth.
It's not bad, but I couldn't resist the stab. 'Cause
Sure.
it was funny to me. But no, I watched it. It was fun. It was enjoying. It was enjoy. I enjoyed it.
It was enjoy.
It was enjoy. It was enjoy.
Much enjoy.
Much enjoy.
Yeah, the acting was good. I liked Tilda in there, and I liked Mads, even though he didn't really do anything.
Very pleasure.
Yeah. Very pleasure. Much enjoy.
Super happy.
Though we were talking about this off the show, it had some weird moments where the humor really undercut what could have been really good moments.
Yeah.
And I just hated the humor in the movie. Like, the humor just wasn't working. It just didn't fit. It didn't match. It just was out of place. It just didn't work. I wasn't jiving with it the entire time.
You heard it here, folks. John hates humor.
But
Laughing
that's
sucks.
actually
He hates
why
happy.
I loved his sequence during Thor Ragnarok so much because
In Ragnarok, he felt more like Doctor Strange.
he
than
felt like
did in
Doctor Strange. The humor was coming from
Weird.
Thor, while Doctor Strange was very, very serious the entire time. And
He was
I liked
hilarious,
that.
though. He was torturing Loki and getting the beer. That's the kind
Oh
of
my
Doctor
God.
Strange I want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, like, there was one scene in the movie
I've been
where
falling for 20 minutes.
I
there's
just love that he's more powerful than Loki, and the look in their faces when they encounter. I just want to see that.
I'm actually pretty hyped for that now that you mention that. But
Next week, guys.
but no, it was fine.
Maybe.
It was a fine
We'll
movie,
see.
worthy in its spot, kind of in the lineup of just, oh, they made a Doctor Strange movie, cool.
I will say this in Doctor Strange's defense is that the difference between that and Black Panther, and I'm not trying to take a dig at Black Panther, but Doctor Strange, they finished their special effects. Black Panther, they didn't. And there's a
Okay.
big difference
Fair
between
enough.
the
The
two.
effects were really good, and I guess I liked what they did with how he defeated the boss, like the end villain.
Yeah.
Just like, stop! No, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, he turned it around on him. I thought in a clever way.
If I was that villain, I would have been very upset too. I'd be like, "This is freaking irritating."
I also like the villain is
He
also
annoyed the
Benedict
villain.
Cumberbatch.
He annoyed the villain to leave, and I was like, that's fun for me.
And that's very Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like, that is pure him.
Yeah.
Chewie, what about you? Where have you been doing?
Not as much again. Okay, I've been just like seriously, my life right now is I get home, I spent all my energy at work, so I'm just laying on the couch watching Grimm.
Cooking a baby.
Cooking a baby.
Grim, though.
But the two
Much
side
sleep,
things
very cook.
I haven't talked about, I guess. I watched an episode of Goldbergs, and it didn't involve the sister at all. It was a better episode for it,
Wow.
which was nice.
It's a bold move.
Yeah, it's just because we all agree. Sorry, the sister went off to college. She doesn't really work in the show very well anymore. Every time you try to go back to her, it just feels annoying. Like, just let her be in college, bring her back when it's actually important.
Yeah.
And I had I don't think I talked about this. I did bring up SVU recently, but not this episode. I keep seeing things involving babies.
Shocker.
You see him everywhere now.
It just keeps happening now, and a lot of them aren't very happy. And the episode of SVU was about a baby who was born with a condition that pretty much essentially turned it into a vegetable within 3 months.
Which vegetable?
So,
Undercut the seriousness of that.
it's so weird to have a thought.
So clearly Brian's not feeling that same anxiety that Chewie feels when she sees these
It is
things.
so weird to have a thought sync up with someone's actual words and realize you didn't say that. I was like,
but it was a very sad episode because I mean, actually, I connected with it on 2 levels now.
Yeah.
One about fears of having a child that isn't healthy. 2, the episode centered around rights to death.
Oh, okay.
Because this baby wasn't alive. It couldn't breathe on its own. It was never going to get better. The doctors were telling the parents that it was essentially brain dead. There was nothing they could do, but they couldn't kill it. They couldn't let it die.
That's a big matzo ball right
Yeah,
there.
because technically they were keeping it alive, but you know the whole thing about you're never supposed to do harm in the medical industry, and I'm on the side of sometimes you should just let somebody die.
Well, that's why we live in California.
Yeah.
But so that was pretty much what the episode was about, is how the mom wanted to let her son die while the dad didn't. The dad, for some reason, was holding on to some hope that he'd get out of it, even though all the doctors said this is impossible. And then Barba, the district attorney, had a moment with the mother, and he just told her, leave the room. Told the mother, leave the room. And he flipped the switch. So then the rest of the episode is, how do we convict him for murder, essentially? And he's a district attorney. And so it was a very heavy episode.
yeah.
And then so it was getting me emotionally with all of that stuff. And then I find out at the end, it's the episode that he's leaving.
Ooh.
Barba's no longer the district attorney in SVU. And that actor is phenomenal.
Who is it?
I never remember his name. Raul something.
Raul Esparza.
Esparza. He is phenomenal. I don't know, maybe he's going back to Broadway because he's a singer and dancer.
Maybe they're bringing back Hannibal.
Was he in Hannibal?
Yeah.
He'll find a show. He's
I
good.
fucking
Chilton.
love him. And the guy that they got...
Yes.
Your face was delightful.
The guy that they cut... They're bringing in the guy that was in Chicago Justice that got canceled.
Is he gonna play the same character?
He's coming as their new district attorney, and he just...
from Chicago.
Yeah, I just got in from Chicago.
Yeah, essentially.
My arms are tired.
tired.
I flew in from Chicago.
He's supposed to be the son from the original district attorney at the very beginning of Law and Order, from like the very first Law and Order show.
Jack McCoy's boss. What's his
Something
face?
like
Adam
that.
Schiff.
I didn't watch the beginning of Law and Order. I'm really an SVU person.
Little nepotiz over here.
Sorry.
Taking over SVU.
So yeah, it was a fucking like I haven't gotten that many different emotions from an SVU episode in a while. It was a roller coaster.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sam, what about you?
I have been watching the first season of The Good Place.
Me too. I just started this.
Yeah, and everyone kept telling me to watch it, and I did, and I'm very glad Michael Schur has nailed it once again, being awesome at comedies. I don't know. I'm really excited to keep going with it. It is delightful.
Has season 2 been spoiled for you yet?
No, but I know I know there's a big twist. Please don't tell me.
I'm not
Don't
going
say
to.
anything.
I wasn't going to. I'm just
I
asking because
like season 2 more than season 1.
I like that there's like this weird sexual tension between Eleanor and Tahani, and I hope that goes somewhere.
I don't want to say a
I
single
have
thing.
not noticed that yet.
Dude, they're always like flirting.
it's there.
I was like, you're so beautiful, and it's not like Anne and Leslie. It's more like
There's
Leslie and Ben.
There's a line I want to spoil so bad, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But by the end of season 1, I was out of gas on that show. Like I was like, all right, they've said everything they're going to say. I don't enjoy it. I quit 3 episodes out from the end, and then a friend of mine's like, no, finish it. Trust me. And I'm like, an hour and a half of my time, I'm good. And then eventually I finally did, and it's like, oh fuck, they were right.
I like it because it's clear that there's a mystery, and I think I would have caught on to that without knowing that there's a twist. I love mysteries, and I'm very and I'm so excited because it's clear that there's something that needs to be solved here.
Yeah.
And I love I love that it's not focusing on that so that I can put the pieces together myself. Like, that's the quickest way to get me to watch TV is to pretend it's not a mystery, but introduce a mystery.
See, I was the same way, but by halfway through that first season, I'm like, I don't really care about it anymore. Like, I wish they'd do
It lost
something.
a little steam in the middle, but it ramped up. Beginning is great, and then it ramped up at the end.
Okay, well,
And then
knowing
season
that,
2.
I'm prepared to get through the hump.
I
and-
believe season 2, episode 2 or episode 3 is one of the funniest things.
Oh, yeah, there's a
fucking
moment
ever.
in season 2 that I'm like, this made the entire show for me, no matter what.
when they, I don't know how far in you are.
I'm only like 5 or 6 episodes.
Okay,
in.
but you know about Jason then.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
When that reveal happened, I died. I could not stop laughing. I was
Jason's my
like,
favorite character in the
Oh
show.
my
Far
God.
and away.
He's so funny and so dumb and just so sincere. Like, it's so funny because even though he's a liar, like, he's, for me, the only one that seems to belong in a good place, and I love him.
Because he hasn't done anything bad, at least from where I am yet.
If-
I
unless
just
being
They
I
explain why he's in the bad place in one line of dialogue, and it's fucking perfect. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's
But anyway,
so good.
So that's what I've been up to, and I love it.
It's on Netflix, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why I've been watching.
Sweet.
It.
It's only the first season
I
on
think
Netflix.
just the first
Yeah.
season is.
Okay.
Yeah. Because season 2 is over, and the ending is real abrupt, and it kind of upset me. Because like they end with like,
Wait.
oh, I can't wait for next week, and no, it's just
That
done.
was the end of season 2?
Yep.
I just thought they're taking forever to come from the mid-season hiatus.
Yeah. Nope. No mid-season hiatus. That was just the end.
Now,
And it's
now
like,
I'm mad.
it's like, what the fuck? Like, that was such a.
Fine.
Mackenzie, what about you? Where have you been doing?
Where have I been doing? I recently watched Alias Grace on Netflix. I don't know if anyone
Never
caught
even heard of
that
it.
one.
No.
Nope.
So it's based on a book by Margaret Atwood, which it probably got made because of the success of The Handmaid's Tale. But it's really interesting. It's set in the 1800s about this woman who murdered a few people, and it's kind of a mystery in terms of, did she really do it? Did she not do it? Was there other factors involved, because she claims not to remember anything? So the whole series is her like recounting her memories to this doctor and trying to figure out if she's crazy or if she's not crazy, or did she do it? Did she not do it? And it's left a little ambiguous at the end. It's left maybe a little bit supernatural, but maybe not supernatural. It's really interesting.
I never heard of it, but I'll check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Alias Grace.
So that brings us to today's episode on Ladybird and
And a
honking horns.
That
Apparently,
would be a car alarm.
yeah. I'm not even sure if it's picking up. So we're just gonna move right with it. So Ladybird came out late last year. Cost a whopping $10 million. Went on to make around 50. So good for Greta Gerwig.
Nice.
And company. The review I will read this week, I think, is it's pretty succinct. I'm between like 3 of them, and I don't know which one's the best one.
So there's 3 that are distinct. Wow.
Yeah, I'll go with this one. I'm going with Honoka Kauska. I'm believing that's a woman's name. There's a character in a fighting game named Honoka who's a girl, so I'll go with probably a lady. She wrote this on December 22nd, 2017. Here we go. The worst movie in existence. Literally can't even write a review. So bad. Bad, 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 bad. 0 out of 10.
She's very articulate. Her level of vocabulary is almost presidential.
Yeah,
Oh no!
that was a good one.
Nice.
Oh boy. She just needed sad at the end of it. That would be great.
You savaged that woman the way she attempted to savage this movie.
Only one person was burnt this day.
Well, technically, 4 out of 47 people found that useful.
That ratio, though.
Oops. So that's what that is. Why did I always close my
I
laptop?
don't know.
Before we jump into our opinion on this movie, we need to figure out what we're talking about. And we do that with something we call a 30-second breakdown. Mackenzie, are you excited for this?
I haven't practiced it, and so I don't really know what I'm gonna say.
Perfect.
Other than your succinct growing up. But we'll see where this goes.
Okay. All right. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. Ladybird in 30 seconds. Here we go. Go, 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 go.
Ladybird is a coming-of-age film about a high school girl in the early 2000s who goes by Lady Bird because she thinks that she's needs to be a more interesting person and wants to have a more interesting life. And she's navigating who she is and her relationship with her mom, which is contentious. And it's about growing up.
Yeah, that works. Would you say she grows up in the end?
I would say she's on her way.
Perfect. And there's your 30 seconds.
Nice.
So yeah, this movie, I want to preface in the beginning here. What grade were we in 2002?
I was graduating.
You were
I
graduating.
graduated at the end of 2002.
I was a sophomore. So she's a
A senior.
She
She's a
graduates in 2003.
okay. So she's
So
a
she's
year
a
ahead of
senior.
me
She's
Yeah.
a year younger
because
than
I graduated
me.
in 04. So where were you guys in high school at that point?
Well, I wasn't.
Well, yeah, but okay, high school life, whatever.
I would
graduated
have
in 03.
been a
You graduated in 03?
Yeah.
Okay.
freshman because I graduated
Freshman?
in 06.
And that would
Yeah.
put you freshman or 8th grade?
That's I'm
Freshman, because 3 years.
No.
No,
Sam.
I-
Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm trying to think because I graduated in 07. So I think I would have been in junior high. I think.
You're like 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie is, it's weird to watch this now, like taking place in 2002, 2003 year, because it's basically made about the time that we were all right there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like this movie's not made for our generation, but it's about our generation, which I think is really interesting.
It's weird to see a period piece about your own time period.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It's very strange.
This is the first one that I can really recollect that like.
And
Because
it-
like Perks of Being a Wallflower kind of did that, but it was the 90s, so like I
Yeah.
would have been too young.
And like
Yeah.
Boyhood was more my sister's age
yeah,
because he was born in 94, just like her. She was hilarious. She was like, that was so boring. I lived it.
but yeah, so it's something that took place after us. So this is like
Yeah.
really the first one that I can remember that just nails right where we were, which is kind of interesting seeing it.
for production design, it can be a very complicated movie to make.
I could see
Because
that.
it's the type of thing that people aren't saving that stuff right now. So you can't just go to a thrift or vintage store and find it.
Yeah.
You have to try to find it from like thrift stores because people are getting rid of that stuff right now.
Yeah, because it's junk to us.
Yeah,
'cause
it's not. It's
there's
not
nothing
of any
special.
value.
It's not classic vintage.
Not going to sell it on
cool.
Etsy
Yeah.
yet.
It's just old crap.
Fuck yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have anything to do with that part of my life.
well, that's how most of us feel. So it's kind of interesting watching a movie that's all
Yeah.
about that time.
The
And-
nostalgia level for the objects of that time is not high.
No.
So it can be very hard from a design point of view to make the movie.
But speaking just of the nostalgia level and like making a period piece about, say, 10, 15 years ago
Yeah.
where we were, it's interesting that like the amount of stuff that they nail, like that just is pure
They still did a
early
very
2000s.
good job,
Like
yeah.
they did did Greta write the movie as well, or did she
Yes,
just
she
direct
wrote and
it?
directed
She
it.
wrote and directed. Okay, she nailed the dialogue of that era like so well that like it didn't even dawn on me like things that we kind of phased out of saying that are still there. That when we say now it's a joke, but when then it was totally normal. And the one that I'm going for is Timothy's line of, "Oh yeah, she's hella tight."
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
also so California at the time too. Like,
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I guess people said that in my high school, but
Well,
it wasn't really.
Hello,
a
We said it
thing.
all-
Such a NorCal thing though. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
anyone
don't
from
remember
San
that
Francisco
line,
or
really.
Sacramento or whatever, that's such a NorCal
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
because we said it in my high school, but it was always as a joke and more of like a South Park. Because like when
Yeah.
Cartman starts saying "hella" all the time, hella, 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 like that's how we started saying it. But it's
Yeah.
still something that was like that time period, and like it's just
I remember saying "sweet" a lot back then.
yeah,
Yep,
sweet dude.
sweet.
I still say both of those, which is
Yeah.
embarrassing, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a writer.
Sweet.
Sweet dude, yeah,
Total sweet.
it's hella tight.
Hell tight, dude.
But like I think is the dialogue and like the look of the movie that I think they nailed so perfectly that just from the get-go you're just in that world. Like and it's something that, like every single like coming of age movie, especially it's telling a story that's not the time that it is right now, tries to hit. And this one did it so well that it didn't feel like it was ever showing off. It was never like when you watch a movie from the 80s, it's like, look at how 80s this is. This one was really subtle and just kind of downplayed it, but still existed in that time frame.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
having a
that
weird.
moment too with the cell phone.
Yeah.
Where they were like, "You don't have one," and then they pulled out. It wasn't. I mean, it was just like the little Nokia that everybody had. Well, not everybody had. That
No,
was the thing.
only special
Not-
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not everybody
Yeah.
had a cell phone. It was really.
I
Funny
had
to
my
see.
flip phone.
I didn't even have a flip phone. It was more like the phone that they got. It was like just a little brick. It was
Yeah.
like the size of a chocolate bar. Like that's everybody
with
wanted small.
your T9 texting.
Yeah,
Yes.
I still have that phone, by the way. It's in the cabinet.
it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mine are all lost. I
No,
used to not be
they're
able to.
all with it.
Yeah.
We've never, unless you've traded in your cell phone, we haven't gotten rid of an actual cell phone.
Oh, I'm talking about when I was in high school. I lost like a phone a month. My
Oh,
parents
God.
hated me.
I don't even understand why they kept buying you another one.
Me neither. I would have cut me off because you're basically just spending hundreds of dollars for me to lose something.
So I'm having a weird moment with this movie now that you've mentioned like how naturalistic it is and how it puts us in this time. A lot of movies that try to take you back to those times of nostalgia have like a rosy tint to them, kind of a rose tinted glasses, as it
Sure,
were.
yeah.
And they're like it still feels unreal. It's like, oh, this is idealized. It's so like, oh, that time. This, it was just like I slipped back in time. Like I actually did some time travel in a weird moment. I was just sitting there. I was just like, I'm here. This is like things just felt so naturalistic and real in a weird way. And I hadn't thought about that until you just mentioned it. I was like,
Did
wait.
you have a lot of angst about your capabilities?
It was this weird time of that, yeah, angst about the capabilities, having some confidence but not, and still kind of navigating this weird, like, even the way she walked, it was like, oh, I recognize that, but I didn't think about it until just now. Just like we all kind of in that age range kind of walked that way.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
we were not quite precocious enough to be annoying, but we had our moments.
Sure. But like it's one of my favorite things about this movie, and like I've seen it only twice now. Like usually I've watched movies a bunch of times before we start recording. This one I've only seen twice, but both times walking away from it, I think that's the thing I like the most about it. And that's not trying to say anything else in the movie's bad. I think it's a very good movie. But for me, it's the world building that they did very subtly and just kind of made it exist in early 2000s that I haven't seen anybody try to do yet, because it hasn't really been, like, we're not quite there yet as like a film going society. This is the first one that's really done it and did it very well.
Yeah.
I also felt like when I was watching it that yes, it's a period piece, but I didn't even really notice that it was a period piece for most of the
Yeah.
time, because it just felt so. The story itself is pretty timeless. Like,
Yeah.
there's the cell phone scenes, but it's like it's not about the cell phones. Or when he's saying "hella tight," then I'm like, oh yeah, it's 2002. He's saying
Yeah.
hella tight. But everything else just felt pretty, timeless in terms of
And they didn't really
The
call
storyline.
attention to it.
yeah, because
No.
it's like this story is a story that could be for anyone at any time and any place, and
Yeah. And I think the early 2000s, like, you look back on it and it's kind of void of like its own distinct character, like beyond like dialogue and a little bit of music, which they have in here, the dialogue, the Dave Matthews Band, like that sort of stuff.
yeah.
But otherwise it's kind of like it's one of those rare points where it's like we haven't really figured out what we're going to be yet. And I think by choosing to set the movie in one of those kind of gray areas, it gave it more of like a timeless feel to it. So like you could picture it as now, and minus the cell phones, the 2003 glasses, it's like, yeah, it still kind of fits.
Yeah.
And it really worked. I think it was a really smart choice to set it there, because usually when I watch a movie that takes place in a different time and it's not motivating anything, I'm like, well, why would you do this? And this one, I think it just worked.
Do you think we think that because that was like our time period?
Possibly,
though?
yeah.
It feels
Probably.
very natural. It was so uncomfortable though because
Oh,
of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like limited patience for coming of age stories as
Yeah.
it is, because why would you ever want to revisit such a shitty time in your life? But
Right.
this one in particular, it was just like such an uncomfortable watch. And I think that's to the movie's credit. I don't think this was a bad movie, but I will never watch it again.
Oh, I will watch this movie 10 more times.
Yeah, I'll probably go back to it, but
Like I was telling
Maybe
John
because I
earlier-
did not have that relationship with my mom, so it didn't
Yeah.
make me uncomfortable to watch
have-
that.
like that, but it's more just like I was telling John earlier, my patience is pretty limited for like teenagers through early college students, to the point where like I purposely graduated college early because I have no patience. I'm terrified of the interns at work. Like I didn't understand teenagers when I was one, and now like I go to the animal shelter and we have like 15-year-old volunteers, and I'm like so
So
for
you
me-
don't like hormones.
I guess not. I think too, like, I was just, not that I had friends and I had a pretty normal high school experience. It's not like it was torture for me, but I have worked so hard to block so much. It's just tremendously embarrassing. And I think it was a courageous choice for this movie because it didn't pull any punches in
No, it
that
doesn't.
regard. Like,
Yeah.
she is an embarrassing person.
yeah.
Like, if she were a real person, she would feel the way I do watching this movie about her life. Because it was a really brave choice to make such an unlikable, honest, and not unlikable, like, I'm sure she'll grow up fine, but what a bad time in her life to,
Oh, yeah.
to record. And I get it, like, but it's, yeah.
That's
it's
what makes it a better
hard
movie,
watch.
but yeah.
Well, she just embodies a person that from when I watched this movie, it's her senior year, and I think they don't expressly say it, but clearly she's never really tried that hard. And I feel like this is the first year of her life where she's actually trying, but she doesn't even know how to try.
Right.
Well,
So
Why?
every because she's going to graduate, she's going to college.
No,
She's-
but like the
But she
why
doesn't get
should
why,
try-
yeah.
Yeah.
We expect it, and
Ugh,
it made me
man.
have a lot more sympathy for teenagers because we expect them to invest so much in their future without any knowledge of what the adult
Yeah.
world looks like.
Yeah, and this movie kind of nails that whole like you need to do this. Your life is in front of
Yeah.
you, and like,
And
but to a high
she's
schooler, their life is
terrified.
happening now.
Yeah.
Like-
So she's trying to navigate that the
Yeah.
whole movie because she understands she's got to go somewhere. She wants to be something better than what everyone else perceives her as, but she's made her rut because clearly everyone says that she has a bad work ethic. Everyone kind of laughs at her about certain things. And like, I assumed that she just was a big slacker this entire time until now.
Well, it feels like, and like, I love Saoirse Ronan. I think she's fantastic, and I like that Greta waited on making this movie till Saoirse was available. I thought that was a really good idea because this movie was supposed to come out 2 years ago, and she's like, "No, I'm going to wait for her to be available. I'm going to make this movie with her." It was the right choice.
Yeah.
But she does these things where I don't think her character has ever been challenged. Like I think
No,
like
she never tried to be challenged.
no, I'm not, that's not what I mean. I mean like nobody's ever pushed back against her. I feel like people just let her steamroll. Like especially her best friend, who I think I don't remember her name. Julie.
And her dad.
And her dad. But like these people, they do great performances. Like they're so good in this movie because you can believe it. That like they've just let her steamroll because she's
Yeah.
got a really bold and outspoken personality, and she's kind of engaging in that way where like you feel like you're next to somebody important when you're with him. Because I've been that person. I've been that person where like that guy's super cool. I want to be next to him, and then I'll be cool by relation.
Right.
And I feel like that kind of has. Her friend kind of embodies that, and then after a while, her friend kind of realizes I'm being treated like shit. Like she tells her to skip class because she doesn't want to be alone, and like her friend stands up for herself, like no, I'm going by, and it's this great kind of moment that it feels like she's never had somebody say no to her like that before.
Yeah, that makes me wonder whether or not her mom was as serious against her beforehand. If her mom was letting her steamroll as well, and then suddenly they're going to colleges, and now her mom's just freaking out.
Yeah,
And
like
that's
my
why
daughter
she's
is
being-
unprepared for
Yeah.
life.
Well, it seems like they were the type of family who, I mean, obviously very working class. Like they never got out of the hole they were trying to dig themselves out of. And so, their lives were probably just about living their lives. Like they probably hadn't been thinking about planning for their children's future because they didn't
When
have
there's
the
nothing
time.
to save. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
And they had already invested a lot in the son because they don't really talk about it, but he was adopted, so they spent a lot of money probably getting him.
Adopted, went to a very good
And
school.
went to Berkeley,
graduated-
so they spent a lot of money on him.
To be fair, in 2002 or like in that era in California, if you were a smart kid and you got into a UC, most of your tuition was covered.
That's true. Yeah,
So
Okay.
Yeah.
that's also why they're pushing so hard for her to go.
But
to a
he did
local
live
school.
away from home, so like
Yeah.
that probably cost money, and now
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
bagging groceries and sleeping on
Yeah.
the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also like even though this is more a little bit like the mother and daughter relationship, it's a little bit more exaggerated in this case. But like on the fringe, like adults just didn't know what to do with us in 2002, 2003 at all. Because
I don't think the relationship is exaggerated at all.
No, this
No.
was extremely
I mean,
realistic.
like in terms
Yeah.
of like that wasn't like my exact situation, but the way the adults interact with the kids at that time was exactly. So
Yeah.
I wasn't in that exact situation. That's all I meant.
Yeah, sure, but I think, God, what's her name? I'm forgetting it now. The girl who plays the mom,
Laurie Metcalf.
Laura Metcalf. Easily, in my opinion, her best performance of her career. Like
I would like
like
her
career
to win
defining.
for
Oh, I
best
would love her to
supporting.
win.
I
She
want-
was so good.
I want her to win so bad, and I love Allison Janney. Like she used to come to my Starbucks every day, and we would joke around. Like she would say, "Hey, Brian, good to see you today." Like I got to know her. One of the most wonderful people I have met in Hollywood. I'm sure she doesn't remember me now because I was just a fucking barista. But seriously, wonderful human being. I want her to lose so bad, and like. This performance, like, because I've seen, like, Chewie and I were talking about it a little bit last night. Like, we've seen the destructive, abusive mother, and Allison Janney nailed it in I, Tonya. Like, she was so good. But this performance by Metcalf is like, it's just a real mom. Like,
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
women that I have
She
met.
She
And you
nailed
see the love. You see
Yeah.
that she loves her so much, and yet is still like a struggling mom who
Yeah.
is very nitpicky and passive aggressive, not because she doesn't like her daughter, but because she just doesn't know how to relate to her and how to encourage her in the way that she wants to.
She never had, it was that not throwaway, but that line where she said her mom was an abusive alcoholic. She never had someone teach her how to mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And she's doing the best that she can with what she has.
She does the best she can. She goes a lot more like tough love. Like she's one of those people who's like, tough love is the way to go.
Right.
And like,
especially because, like she says, the dad is nice guy dad. Do whatever you want. Let's go get Doritos and eat them in the car.
I also like how they featured the complexity of the mother with her career in that regard. Because it's kind of a cliche. Whatever you do as your career, a lot of times you don't want to do it when you're at home.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm always cleaning and organizing things at work. So when I come home, it's just like, fuck.
Yeah, and I never want to tell these editors what to do.
But for her, she works at a psych hospital.
Yeah.
She's always mentally helping people, trying to help them work through their things. So when you get home, she's one, exhausted from doing that, and two, it's much harder when you have such a personal connection to that person to actually tell them more so the constructive things they need to say. But when you're just that emotionally invested, you're not as strong as you would be otherwise.
And there's
passion fatigue.
Yeah, so
Real
she's just yelling the things that her daughter needs to hear, but she's saying them in all the wrong ways.
And there's something about like when you see her, the little glimpses like at work or at the thrift store or stuff like that, where you get that like I feel like a lesser movie would have villainized her. She would have been like the villain of the movie, and she's more of just like an antagonist. Like she's the one who's pushing her, but not in a bad way at all. But
we
like,
kind of end up taking her side
exactly,
most of the time, I think.
a lot of times. And like there's something about the way you see her outside of her family relationship that I think really brings that home. Like she buys the gift for the guy at work, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. It's perfect." Or she sees the woman at the thrift store. She's like, "Oh, how's the baby? Show me a picture at checkout." Like she knows these people. Like she integrates herself in people's lives in this really wonderful way. Like you would want to get to know her.
The scene with the priest, that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Like I wanted them to make a sequel just to see what's going on with him, because clearly he's dealing with some stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I also loved when Lady Bird has the scene with Shelley standing outside smoking their cloves outside the house, and Shelley tells her, "Your mom has a really big heart," and Lady Bird just doesn't see her that way.
Yeah.
And then when she goes to defend her mom against the guy who turned out to be gay, and he's like telling her not to tell
Your
anybody.
mom's scary.
Your
Yeah.
mom's scary, and she's like, "No, my mom has a big heart." Like she's just quoting.
My mom is warm.
She's quoting Shelley because like she's never seen her mom that way.
Yeah.
Because her mom doesn't have that same relationship with her that she has with everybody else.
Yeah.
And they get close at one time. My favorite part in this movie is where they're kind of in the midst of a little bit of friction there, and then they're like, "Well, what do you want to do? Like our favorite activity over the weekend?" She's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Like it was just like immediately
they go to
we're
open houses.
Yeah.
I love that.
they were immediately in sync, and then the rest of the thing they had no dialogue there, and I was like, that's a really great scene to see that.
And
Like,
they have that same switch in the thrift store too, when they're like
Oh,
fighting, they're
beautiful dress.
arguing.
Yeah.
Oh, what about this dress? Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like they have that. They do get in sync at times, at moments, and it's like that hopefully someday Lady Bird will grow up and they'll have a better relationship.
My mom and I were very much like that in a lot. Like every time there would be attitude, you could subvert it easily with like, "Oh, you look so cute with this." Like,
But like I as growing up, I'm not a girl, so I never had that relationship with my mom, but I would watch my sister go through this exact same thing where they'd be screaming at each other, and then my dog would do something cute, and they'd both be like, "Oh, look at the little Maddie." And it's just like, and like
It's
I
part
watched.
of being family in my
Yeah.
mind, because like I've told this to you multiple times. I'm looking at Brian. The more I know a person, the more they be either if they are my family or if they start to become like family. Honestly, the more critical I get of that person because I care more.
Yeah, you
So-
want them to succeed.
Yeah. So that's where it is with the whole thing between her. She's incredibly critical of her daughter, not as critical of the girlfriend, so she can be more warm to her and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's a really
I think too, there's that point where you realize someone isn't going to go away, so you can let your worst self out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you
can trust them to see your bad side.
like you don't have to work as hard, so you don't. And that like we tend to treat the people we love badly when we're frustrated about other things. And I think that's what I liked about this was when she was having boy trouble is when things flared up with her mom. not because they were talking about boys, but because that's where her head was at.
Yeah.
And she can't scream at the boys. She can't scream at her school friends, but she can scream at her mom.
Yeah, and the thing about the two lead women in this movie is that I feel like they did both such a great job with their character that when they're not speaking, you can still see them, their wheels turning in character. Like it's always there. And like there's some actors, like when they're not talking, it's like, oh look, now Tom Cruise is standing there waiting to be Ethan Hunt again, and it's like
Orlando Bloom in Lord of the Rings, where he just looks
I'm
like a
pretty.
puppy.
Orlando Bloom's just waiting to be Legolas again. Like there's like these moments where you can see people.
Woo!
They took
waiting-
the hobbits to Isengard.
Yeah. But like there's these moments with actors who are phenomenal actors and I love them, but you can still see them waiting for their next line. Because a lot of movies are crafted around look at who's talking, and like they're even edited specifically for that unless you're doing like reaction shots. But a lot of times that's the way that it is. And this movie, I feel the performances were so strong across the board where everyone was in character and living these moments as they were happening, and it just like
It felt like Greta Gerwig's. It was like the first good thing to come out of that mumblecore movement.
Yeah.
Because she's so used to
Yeah.
just having the camera on and living in front of it.
Yeah.
For some of her previous movies as an actor, I think it really showed how she was able to be a stronger director because of it, and that was really cool because you could tell people were just kind of living in front of the camera, and she was there to capture it.
yeah, unbelievably well made.
I cannot wait to see what she does next.
Yeah.
It was because she wrote everything so well. No one's ever nailed teenage boys quite like she did with their dialogue. What little shit.
We'll move into them next.
But like such a difference in the type of teenage boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
man.
just had there was like so much compassion happening. Like you could tell that the people behind the camera were like loved these characters even
Yeah.
at their worst, and that really came through.
Yeah, it came through, and I honestly like even like the lesser characters, like the brother who doesn't have a lot, still delivered a great performance. Like each one of them.
That moment when he and his dad crossed paths in the job interview,
Oh, man. Yeah.
it wasn't just like an arrogant son. It was like this realization that like
he's
he's an
gotta grow
adult
the
now.
fuck up.
Yeah,
But and I took it as like a realization of I'm an adult now, and I'm taking a job from my dad.
yeah.
Like that just
And he goes and hugs it. He straightens his tie.
yeah.
The dad straightens his tie, and I
Oh,
wanted
that was
to
a
sigh.
tough
I
moment.
cried a little. I'm not gonna lie.
I
That
did.
moment just killed me.
It's so
I hope
rough.
the dad found a job. I really do.
Yeah.
But Miguel got the job. Go Miguel.
Go Miguel.
Miguel better be giving them some money.
Yeah.
I hope he's paying rent.
But a little bit about the dudes of the picture. Did anybody else go immediately with the theater kid? Oh, he's gay.
Oh, the moment he said, when she's saying, "You can touch my boobs," and he said, "I respect you too much for that."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's gay.
Well-
Because there could be the guy who respects the girl, but the moment she gives him an in, he'll take it.
And now
'Cause
you
he's
have
a teenage boy.
Yeah, as a teenage boy, now you have bruises on your boobs.
Yeah.
I can do what now?
Yes. Okay, that's respectful, and now you can move forward. He turned
Going
her
Rocky Balboa on
down.
those breasts.
It's when you're a teenager and you turn down the sex, then it's like, oh, okay. How she didn't immediately know that he was gay, I don't understand.
Well, that wasn't
Because it's
as much of a
2003.
Yeah.
He wasn't out. She's probably never met an out gay person.
but still,
There was no gaydar back
she
then.
should have
There
been
was no gaydar.
There was
Exactly.
totally gaydar back
She
then.
should have been
Not good ones. It was
concerned.
those flip phones, right?
Because
But she's never been. But we're to assume this is her like first experience with that. So,
That's true, yeah.
So why would she assume?
speaking
why would
as
she?
my teenage experience at that time, if I offered my boobs to a dude and he didn't touch them, I would be mad. I would have actually been quite mad.
But if this is her first time,
I never had
like,
boobs to offer.
offering that to a guy, like this is the first time someone's turned her down because it's the first time she's offered. So
I think too, they were in a really
Take my boobs,
religious. They
please.
were in a really religious environment. That phrasing, that like I grew up really evangelical, not Catholic, but that phrasing really, it was like, I respect you too much. Like I remember kids in youth group, that was the dialogue that you had when you
Yeah.
were with somebody. Was
That
like,
was the cool way to stay abstinent.
yeah, I respect you so much
Yeah.
that we're like we're gonna get married, but we have to wait. And
Just respect you so hard right now.
yeah, it's
and then I'm sitting in the corner going, "Fuck all of you guys! I want to have something going on here."
but it's like that very much felt in line with kind of her environment, and it was clear he was gay, but that was more his performance than like what I
Yeah.
expected her to know or not. I wouldn't have picked up on that as a young girl.
Just speaking as a guy, like if I was given the green light at 16, I'm taking the green light.
well,
but like,
I don't know.
yeah, but I think the kid played it well enough. Whereas like to her, I could buy her going like, oh, I guess that's just we're in a very like mature relationship where we respect each other, and I could totally see like that age or girl being like, yeah, that's just what we
Especially
do.
because he followed it up with "I love you."
Yeah, and it's like as an
That's a
adult
distracting
watching this scene, you're going, oh, he's gay. Oh, he's definitely gay,
He
and it's
loves
like,
her like a hag.
yeah, oh, she's a great friend,
I did love that they did eventually become friends, though,
which was great.
I
Yeah,
love that was such a sweet moment when he came to her, and it was nice to like her for the first time in the movie. She did something truly compassionate.
I would honestly say that's the beginning of the turn for her character.
Where she starts to actually mature.
Well, yeah, when she starts realizing that she's not the center of every situation.
Yeah.
Like this was his moment, and he needed help, and like he reached out to her because she's really the only one.
I think they really did love each other as
Yeah.
friends.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah, there was a lot of connection there.
yeah. Because it was just, I don't think there's an argument for whether or not he knew he was gay, and he just hadn't figured it out yet. And we just watch over the course of this year with her in high school him figure it out.
And man, we do watch this with such like 2020 vision, because even just at that age, no one knows what to do with you in 2002, 2003. You don't know what to do with yourself, and no one told you this crazy conflicting emotions of like, I got a green light. What do I do now with it?
Right.
I didn't
where's the
have
pedal?
that problem.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem. As soon as the green light happened, for the most part, I was like, woohoo!
But when you have that kind of like religious school upbringing, it's even
That
more.
green light becomes really confusing.
I guess-
Oh,
I
yeah,
guess
for
if
sure.
You had a
Yeah.
more like situation like that because I went to 2 different high schools and
Yeah.
neither were religious.
I didn't go to
He was not only in religious school, he was in Catholic school, but he was also in a very Irish Catholic family.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So there's a lot
he
of
has
layers
that
in
line
there.
about like
So it
can't find
seems
a
like-
girl to date who's not his cousin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So it's like not just his schooling. It seems like his whole life is surrounded with these rules and regulations.
And the fact that he comes from an affluent family. So a lot of times when you come from a rather rich family, being the person that sticks out isn't really a good thing because
Yeah.
they're supposed to be proper and all that blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. He
In
specifically
addition to all like the
yeah,
religious
he
pressures,
specifically says, "I don't know how I'm going to tell my mom." Is like that's the first concern he has. Nothing about Jesus or anything. It's about how do I tell my mom?
it's gonna be rough, kid.
Yeah, because that's going to change their. For a lot of families like that, the reputation is so important that
Yeah.
having a gay child in that environment would change the entire dynamic of the family.
Well, especially in a place like Sacramento. Sacramento is a really big little town.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those places like, oh yeah, it's a big city and whatnot, but we all know each other. So like they would have a reputation if they're a really affluent, like good Catholic, Irish Catholic family. People would know who they are.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, let's talk about Timothy.
Oh, Timothy.
Timothy Chalamet, who's in every movie last year.
I brought
Such
a
a punchable
prop this
face.
week. Like there's his face for people not listening. He really does.
You look at him and you're like, you have so many like, just the same emotion I have towards the Smith kid, Jaden. Like when he starts talking about philosophy and stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, you think
Jaden
you
is a kid who was raised in both Hollywood and a cult. I
Yeah.
have so much
but that's
sympathy
what I
for
mean,
him.
because they like start talking about life as if I have everything figured out. I'm such an old soul. Blah, blah, blah,
Shut up and eat your
blah.
Toblerone.
Yeah, he really
I
does
don't
have
know.
a perfect face for that.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, I don't want to
perfectly cast.
participate in the economy.
You just want to punch him so
I just
bad.
don't like money, says the kid who's super rich to
Yeah.
the girl who lives on the wrong side of the street.
Yeah, really
also-
easy to hate money when you
we
have
all
a
went-
lot of it.
yeah, we all went to private art college.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everyone sitting at this table. God, those chodes were everywhere.
Oh my god.
Those guys were such a pain to work with on your directing one like
God, when
project.
you were assigned. There's a guy who I had to work with who actually looks a lot like this guy. I'm not going to name him here, but like he would just.
Number?
Name him
I
afterwards.
mean,
Yeah, I'll name him after we're done talking. But like he would just say things like, "I hate you a little bit."
God.
I
But
think I know exactly who you're talking about.
all of that said, Timothy had a fucking stellar year last year.
He did.
He was in all the movies.
Yeah.
He was in all the Oscar movies.
And he played a very different character in all of them and did very well in all of them.
I half believe he's the fish man in Shape of Water.
Yeah.
We just don't know. We just don't know.
He's not
I mean,
that tall.
he is pretty dreamy.
Yeah.
And so is that fish man.
Yeah.
Fish man can get it.
Totally.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No, but like.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
There's
Even the man under the fish suit, he can still get it. I love that guy.
It was Doug Jones, right?
Doug Jones, yeah.
Doug Jones is Abe Sapien. He can always get it.
He is so good as Abe Sapien.
But
He's so good at being a fish fan.
he was. We'll get to that movie eventually.
I'm sorry.
But the character that he played in this movie, like from his very introduction of just like the player in the band, like immediately it's like, I hate that kid.
Yeah.
And like
Yep.
you just hate
Yeah.
that
Oh,
kid.
and then when you
But
find
you also
out,
totally understand why she would be so,
Oh, totally.
so,
Yeah.
So
about
mysterious.
that.
he's
Yep.
so mysterious.
It's
He's
so
so
deep.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
Like,
meet me at the Deuce sometime, and you assume that's
And I-
like a bar or
I
a
assumed it was a
restaurant.
Not
I don't know
toilet.
what it is.
fucking parking
And then
lot.
it's like we're going to a parking lot. We just went from one parking lot to another parking lot.
I totally did that so many times as a kid.
Even as a kid, I hated it standing around in parking lots. I did not understand why that was the thing. I hate it now.
That'd be
As an
super
adult, I
cool.
see teenagers hanging out in a parking lot. I'm like, go the fuck out of here. Go to a park.
I hung out in so many Walmart parking lots.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
At my area, it was the McDonald's in Apple Valley. Everyone
There you
wanted to
go.
hang out in that parking lot. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
We had Theo's.
yeah, I know. I didn't
mean,
like Theo's.
huh?
I didn't like Theo's.
Oh man, they had the smoking side though.
I know. Everyone told me how great Theo's was, and every time I go, I'm like, I don't even like it here.
Oh my
I
god, you
was
have to
the
go
weird
sit on
one.
the smoking side with the cool kids.
Yep.
Obviously, I spent a lot of time around devotees.
My friends, we went to the really hip and alternative coffee shop, Vertigo, and we would sit outside and talk about music.
God, I haven't
and
thought about
play
Theo's in
board
forever.
games.
Flashback right there.
This took me back there
Yeah.
hard. Like that. That was our coffee shop.
Yeah.
And they
Then I
had-
got bought up by a major chain. People to start painting in there, and it was very sad.
I remember the first time I had an Afri Cola because it was a weird bottle.
Of course. Of course.
That's what I cared about back then.
But a little bit about his character. Like, I totally get 100% why she was into him. I totally understand why she definitely grew out of that. But there's something that he does in this movie that is horrible. And the first time that I saw it, I'm like, wait, is he lying or did he actually say that? So the second time I wanted to really pay attention, it's when she says, she stops him because clearly they're about to bang. And she's like, I don't want to do this. I've never done it before. And he goes, oh, me too. And it's like,
yeah.
oof.
And then
And then later he finds, oh no, I think like 6 people. You don't even know how many people. And I love her response. It was like, well, I wouldn't keep track. Why would I? You're a teenager. Why wouldn't you keep track? Which is a very good response.
Yeah.
Right, like you've been having sex for maybe 2 years, and you don't know how many people you've had sex
He
with.
Yeah.
definitely
and
has
he
at
already
least
knows how to
HPV.
gaslight.
Yeah. But it's like, it's this moment.
Dated that guy before too.
When she decided to leave the car and got out of there, like
Yeah.
it, in a way that was almost kind of like in moments like those, you almost wish you had, looking back,
Yeah.
done that.
She got to experience hindsight 2020 in the moment.
And it was cathartic in a way.
Yeah.
And then when
Like,
she
you-
goes to her friend's house, that
Yeah.
was so sweet. And she got her. Oh, that made me so happy.
Oh, and just I've had a dress for months. Like, it's so good. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's a really great payoff to some like horrible shit.
Yeah. Because a lot of people honestly wouldn't have gone back to her. There's a lot of teenagers that would have
No.
kept doing the wrong track.
Yeah. She would have sat there miserable at their friend Mike's house or whoever it was, just going, I wish I was at prom right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just been miserable and had a story for the rest of her life that she would have looked back on and laughed at how dumb of a teenager she was.
Yeah.
But she got to do the right thing.
Or have the strength to say she likes that song.
Which she shouldn't like. It's a terrible song.
Okay, but like everyone
as
else
a
is shitting on
teenager
it,
with
and she
emotion.
like
Sure.
has that.
I
She has
still-
the balls to be like, no, I love this song. When all
Yeah.
the cool kids in the car are like, no, this sucks.
The
prom."
clarity
That's
Yeah.
still my greatest fear is like talking about music with anybody because it's just been such a hot button. Like in high school, it was like you're either a music kid or you're not. And
Yeah.
then like we went to art school, and then I kept dating these horrible versions of that guy. And eventually, it was just like I don't have music taste. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
yeah.
I get that with
just
movies
accept-
all the time, and I've just given up on it. I'm like, no, I like what I like, and I don't care.
There was a moment where it was like,
But I can do that at 32. whereas-
Exactly. When you're grown up, it's easier.
Yeah.
When you're
I
like,
mean,
I,
I'm in
enjoy
therapy
things,
learning how to do
whatever.
it,
So
Yeah.
when you're like at that age, oh my god,
It's a
I
nightmare
totally-
trying to navigate your
I totally would have
taste.
been like, oh, is that not cool? Like, I don't want to say what I like.
Yeah.
That is my hell. Like she lived my hell.
Yeah. But she also had, like, I wonder if she didn't have the reveal that he had been with many women, not just her or maybe one before her. Like, he's like, no, I just totally said a lie to get in your pants. Like, it's basically what he was saying. He's like, oh, don't
Oh
worry.
no, he says no. I didn't lie. I haven't lied in 2 years.
Oh,
Oh my
Fuck.
god.
Such an asshole.
I hate him so much.
Like it's very specific. Like I told a lie 2 years ago.
Like,
Like, he definitely went into finance
yeah.
when he got older.
Or a lawyer,
Yeah.
or writes poetry by a lake somewhere.
He sold a bunch of bad mortgages and caused 2008 guys.
Or no, he didn't do anything. He's
Yeah.
living on his trust fund, like
There he
in
is.
the guest house at his parents' place, like doing nothing.
Yeah, that's totally who
He
he
had
is.
an uncle in LA and is working for his production company.
But like, it's things like this. Like, I feel like he's a real person that I want to go find and punch him. That makes me so excited for the rest of Timothy. How do you pronounce it? Chalamet?
Chalamet.
So excited for the rest of his
He
career.
even
Like,
has
I
a
will.
French name.
Oh yeah, and he's not.
But
from
he
France.
wasn't a terrible person in the other movies he was in this
No,
year.
he wasn't. He was in Call Me by Your Name. He was a very relatable.
That's the only
kind
one
of
I
sad
saw. What
character.
other movie
Teenager.
was he in?
He was also in Hostiles.
I heard he was
Did you
great
see
in that, but I
Hostiles?
didn't see
He
it.
was really good.
It's
He wasn't in a lot of it, but he was very, very good.
He's a very talented young actor, and I'm really excited to see what they do with him because he doesn't feel like he's going to try to follow like the standard young actor thing of like put me in a YA movie. I think he's already been in one, but like the YA movie to try to get into like Marvel or Star Wars or something like that. Just try to like stay.
He
in a
doesn't
thing.
seem appropriate.
I hope
No.
he and Harry Styles from Dunkirk do something together though, so they can just be handsome with nice hair.
Throw in Steve from Stranger Things. They can all just like whip their hair together.
But he's not as handsome.
Sure.
Yeah, he's
Steve's all hair.
Well,
Steve's all
can't-
hair. Yeah.
he's the one
Get
that
it?
yeah.
Those two, I know they're young, but they
Don't, if they
They're of
remake,
age. Don't worry about it.
if they remake Kindergarten Cop, I think Steve's a really good choice.
well, yeah, Steve's awesome.
I'm really good with
not a
kids.
knock
Sure.
on Steve,
Yeah.
but like he's got a foot face.
But-
Foot face.
They're
Footface.
definitely
I'm
making
not trying to knock on him, but foot face.
they're definitely making him cool by standing next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't hit in this movie?
The ending.
The ending, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what frustrated me the most.
It has a
Really?
very Coen Brothers ending of like, I
Yeah.
guess we'll stop now.
Well,
I
it's
really
just
love the ending.
I think it's
Really?
great.
Okay.
I love
Explain it to me.
So I loved that we see her starting to grow a little bit. Not a lot because she's going by Christine now, her given name, and realizing
I
that
got a lot
it's
of things to say about that,
she's,
too.
she's realizing, I'm not saying that that's a thing that people have to do, but like for
but like
her,
Lady Bird's not as cool as Chewie, let's be
Well,
honest.
no, I'll go,
And-
I'll
course
go
not.
down my feelings
because
about it.
Lady Bird, like she wasn't going by Lady Bird because she feels like Lady Bird. Her entire senior year, let's say, maybe even earlier, but from when we see her in her senior year, she just doesn't think she's an interesting person. She thinks she lives in a basic town. She's a basic bitch. She's just wants to be interesting and like do something cool, and she doesn't even know what that is. So calling herself Lady Bird makes her interesting. It's not because she connects with that name as
As an identity.
as
Yeah.
an identity.
Yeah.
So when she starts going by Christine again, I think that's really important growth for her because she realizes like Lady Bird didn't make her interesting. Like if she's going to be interesting, she's going to be herself. But yet she still hasn't quite grown because when the guy asks her where she's from and she says Sacramento and he's like, wait, what? And she goes, San Francisco. Like she's
Oh, cool
still not-
town.
she's still lying to try to be cool, and then she gets really drunk and has to go to the hospital. Like she's still trying to be something she's not, but she has a little bit of growth, and she gets the letters from her mom, so she calls her mom, and I love that. I loved it.
Yeah,
I
think
think she's on a journey in college. She's gonna find herself.
the ending spoke to me because she thought the entire film that going away to the East Coast was going to solve all of her problems. And yeah, she thought she was going to become more interesting because of it. She thought everything was going to be cheery. And then she gets there and she's alone. Like I don't think she's ever been away from her parents. She doesn't seem like the girl that ever went to camp. So she never really had to experience life by herself before. So she, in a very passive way, had a little bit of a meltdown, which is why she got super drunk and threw up. And then I love the walk by herself when she's going back to her
She's going to church.
Well, yeah, she goes
where
to the
she's-
church.
I imagine
to find
she's
some
going
familiarity
back to the
Yeah.
school.
when
She just happens to go by the church, which
Yeah.
is where she finds a little bit of a grounding there. Because that's what she has is religion at that point.
yeah,
It's the
which
only
I loved
she can
because
take with
religion
her.
was not something we saw as something she connected with throughout the movie, but when she's away and alone and away from home, she finds a way to find something that reminds her of home.
It's something like comfortable that so it makes her feel not alone anymore in that moment. And that's when she calls her mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she calls her mom outside
So
the
I
church.
thought that was a very touching sequence. And pretty much everything about what you were saying with the name is true. Because like with my name, I didn't choose my name. I was given it by my classmates.
Right, and you weren't trying to make yourself more interesting.
No. I just, it was a weird thing at that moment where I just felt like CHEWIE actually who I was. Because I never identified with my birth name. And yeah, it's true. It's like she felt like she was someone who was just rebelling from her name, which is a very different emotion.
Yeah. And
to choose a 2-syllable nickname, come on. Or a 2-worded nickname.
I was going to say 2-syllable, CHEWIE.
Sorry. Not 2-syllable, 2-word. I mean, yeah.
I think too, like
just
in
annoying.
high school, you are trying on identities because
Yeah.
she does
for
like
sure.
that throughout the movie. We see her try to hang out with the cool kids. We see her try to be a mathlete. We see her
Try to be an actor.
Yeah, trying. She's trying on stuff, and Lady Bird's just part of that. And not her parents don't necessarily address her by that unless she forces the issue. But her best friend calls her Birdie.
Yeah.
Which like weirdly does fit her, but it's a different identity even then, and she doesn't quite catch on.
But
I like
what-
that her mom was very accepting of calling her Lady Bird for the majority of the movie.
Majority.
except when they were fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just the true in anything. You
Yeah.
come up with the full names.
Why didn't you like the ending?
I don't know, like watching people get that drunk just makes me really uncomfortable. If I'm being
Oh,
honest,
for sure,
like,
yeah.
I don't know that I believe that that's how she would have responded in that situation, because she, as much as she was wild and made weird decisions, she was pretty self-possessed. I did like that she went to church, though. I actually went to church almost every weekend in college because it felt grounding. Even though, like, I don't do that anymore, but when I moved out to LA, like, it felt grounding.
I like how they shot that too, like almost bird's eye view of the choir singing, and the church
A
that
lady bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Oh.
But like even just the way that whole like the choir was better, it was more comforting, like more melodic, and just structure of it was better. Like almost like, no, this is actually pretty good. Like she had that kind of moment. I really like that moment.
The getting drunk, it felt for the first time to me like instead of being a very specific story about this girl, it felt like a standard issue coming of age movie, and it took me out.
I could see that.
It didn't feel like a character. I like all the ingredients were there, but the drunkenness isn't what would have done. Like I just don't think that's how she would have melted down.
The only reason why it felt real to me was she's constantly trying to find an identity that matches society's identity.
Yeah.
So she goes to college where all the kids get drunk, so she's going to try to fit in. But that doesn't really... I agree with you. It's not 100% there. Like, I think it's close, and I think the idea works, and it's not enough to take me out of the movie, but I don't think it's the strongest thing in the movie.
While I was never hospitalized for it, I did go far enough to have to be dragged back to my dorm by two very nice people who were, like, friends with me at the time, but, like, they dragged me back. So I went there, did it to do it, tried that hat on. I was like, this isn't for me. And it was very defining in that it was like, oh, this is what this is.
Yeah.
There was a sense of clarity afterwards that I really recognized in that moment.
It was funny because I actually connected with her. Like, it's funny, the more I'm talking about this, the movie was uncomfortable because I connected with her a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who, even now, I'm a drinker. Like, I don't think it's a problem, but that's my point. Like, I've never gotten so drunk that I've forgotten. I've also never thrown up. And I was like, girl, we don't do that. Like, you try some other shit. You try a boy, but like, this is not what you do. And for me, I guess that's where it was like, I related so much to her that I was like, that's not what we do.
But like, it was almost oddly scientific. Like, oh, I wonder what happens. Like, let's try this hat on. Let's see where it goes. This probably won't turn out well.
Also, we don't drink vodka.
Oh, by the way, I do want to say really fast, Lady Bird better fucking done well in college because her parents took out a second mortgage on that house that they didn't like living in. So if she failed, I'm pissed at her.
Quotes.
Sorry.
Quotes. I'm going to go first. And I had a bunch of Timothy lines. Like, I wrote down nothing but Timothy lines just because everything he says, I want to hit you in the face. I don't even remember his actual name. I just in the movie, I just calling him Timothy. So I'm going to go for one that's said to him just to break the grain because I think it is a perfect moment from Lady Bird where she realizes this guy's been a total dick and lying to her the whole time. And the way that accentuated for me was, I was on top. Who the fuck is on top for their first time?
I've got a quote.
Go for it.
It was also something she said to Timothée.
Emotep.
When she says to him, different things can be sad. It's not all war.
I wrote that one down too.
He's so
that one down,
exhausting. I loved her frustration in that moment.
Yeah.
Or with most moments with him where she was like, God, you're hot, but I hate you.
Yeah, 'cause he's being such a dick. He's like, well, you can't be mad at me because, like, we're dropping bombs on Iraq. Like, fuck you, dude.
Different things can be sad. It's not all war. It's a lesson I wish someone had taught me earlier in life.
Yeah.
Like,
My God, his line of this, like, do you have any idea how much meaningless sex you're gonna have in your life? Like, fuck off. Yeah, maybe later, not my first time, dickhole.
God, this movie, like kids having sex in high school gets grosser and grosser the farther out I get from high school.
Yeah.
Like, God, don't do that, children. This is a PSA from elderly
Yeah.
aunts.
I have
It's a bad
quote.
idea.
I have a quote.
Go for it.
This is from early on when Lady Bird and her mom are in the car on their 21-hour college trip. Where did they go, by the way? Did they go to LA? Like, where were they going?
I don't think they really.
I mean,
never- I don't think
I'm
they ever
sure they
said.
just toured California.
No.
I guess.
they wanted to stay in
all
state,
the UCs. And her mom says, Miguel saw someone knifed in front of him at Sac High. And Lady Bird jumps in and says, he barely saw that.
It's very,
I just really like that.
it's pretty great. Because I like to imagine that's just like he was in the lunchroom, like when somebody got stabbed. It's like, I
love
saw
it.
It's like,
Keep
it's not a big
referencing
deal.
it.
Like, it's not a big deal that there's violence in his school because he barely saw it.
the reasoning of a teenager.
I mean, I can relate to that reasoning because I've said so. I like the moments where she actually is the biggest adult in certain spots. Like
Do you
when
have a quote
yes,
to resemble that?
when she yells at her brother, "You're never going to get a job with all that crap in your face." True that.
And he takes it
Unless
out for
you
the
live-
interview.
Yeah, he has to take it all out.
Yeah.
He takes
Like
it
you're
all
going to get
out.
a job at the grocery store or Starbucks.
That I love that actually cut right through the bullshit for him, and he's like, "Oh fuck, she's right."
Yeah, like there's moments of clarity from her.
Yeah.
I love that the lady who's like got a great good union job, I don't know, but it seems like it's good, has like a nose piercing right now, and it's just,
I mean, it's one I even forget I have it sometimes.
I think it's cute. I'm not judging. I'm not you.
I mean, I didn't like that in the 90s. The dudes with the multiple rings going through their lips or whatnot. I was always like, I don't want to make out with you because I don't want to taste metal the whole time. So
I had a lip ring.
yeah, you got rid of it rather fast.
It's interesting looking back on it, how it's interesting the relationship between Lady Bird and her mom and her being so hard on her, and yet here's Miguel, like, piercings all over his face, working at the grocery store.
I
like,
think she gave up on
Laurie
him.
Metcalf, get on that.
Yeah.
Get on that.
Well, he was smart and also adopted, so I think they handled him more gingerly than they
Yeah,
did.
that's
He
true.
was just older and already been through college, so like she already did that stuff to him, I guess.
I
or
guess,
something.
yeah.
So now she has to do it
Now
to
she's
Lady
gotta
Bird. Don't be
put the
like
pressure on
him.
Lady Bird. Because Lady Bird's on like a timeline. She's
Yeah.
about to go to college. That's true.
John?
My line is from Julie, which I found myself thinking about after I'm still thinking about today, but some people aren't built happy, you know? And as you find your identity and kind of figure out how you are and things, it's like, there's just some things that you kind of work around. That's
Yeah.
one of the hats.
That-
And sometimes it's just, you're not going to be happy. Like, you're not a happy person in general.
I wrote that line down too because I thought it was interesting how there was like this through line of depression through the movie that they don't
Yeah.
they don't really address. Like they kind of offhandedly say that the dad's been battling depression for years.
Yeah.
It's not just now when he lost his job, and the mom says, success doesn't mean anything. It just means you're successful. It doesn't mean you're happy.
Yeah.
And Julie saying some people aren't built happy, and then the priest who ends up at the psych hospital. Like there's this through line of these people being depressed in their lives that never really gets resolved, which I think is interesting.
And the movie is very careful about it and very respectful of it, which
Yeah.
I do appreciate.
Yeah.
I think so that kind of speaks to me at the very beginning of the 2000s. I mean, that's this post 2001 9/11 bullshit, and the internet was just starting to become what it is, and
Wasn't quite the shitbag it is now.
yeah,
It was also the first hints of economic depression after the very kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
high 90s. And yeah.
there's a lot of people that were sad and they didn't understand why.
Isn't that also
Yeah.
when Prozac kind of became very popular to prescribe? There was kind of
yeah.
Prozac became
Yeah.
Ally
popular in
McBeal.
the
Yeah.
90s, late
Yeah.
90s.
Ally McBeal watching The Dancing Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. After talking about this today, I've grown to like the movie a lot more.
Yeah.
It happens
Yes.
sometimes. Usually I'm pretty staunch on my opinion.
Every episode of this, I like something a little bit more.
but,
My heart grows at least half a
I
size.
look forward to Greta Gerwig's directing.
Oh,
her.
absolutely.
So far, I like her more as a director than I did as an actress.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
Well, no one knew what to do with her.
I was so happy she made the choice not to star in the movie.
Yeah.
Either. That was really cool.
yeah, absolutely.
She's
I think
not-
that would have been tough to see her as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean star, but like she didn't find a role for herself.
She
Yeah.
could have made
Cough,
herself
cough,
a
Ben
nun or
Affleck,
something.
cough.
Yeah.
Yeah, herself. Yeah.
All right, so review system for today. It's gonna be again. I'm trying easy here. I'll start going mean again in April. I'm going with coming of age movies. Nice, easy, out there.
Yawns.
My name is Doris.
I don't even know what that one is.
I don't know.
Well,
it
it's a
either.
coming of age movie where Sally Field is old and learns how to live her life, and I found it very charming and specific.
Oh,
I
that one.
now
like
remember
this.
this movie. Okay,
I never
fucking
saw
good.
it.
You should.
I
It's
remember
really
the
cute.
poster.
it's a good one. I'm going Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I use this one a lot because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But more so because it's a movie that it's more of a comedy than Lady Bird is by a long shot. They're trying to be funny. But it's a coming of age movie where they do not shy away from the dark and shitty parts of being a teenager, much like this movie does not. Next.
I'm gonna go with. You already mentioned it earlier, but The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Okay.
Only because, yes, the movie was good, but I really really connected with that book when I was a
Yeah.
teenager, and I feel like I felt it brought me back to those times watching Lady Bird and watching / reading Perks of Being a Wallflower.
I've got one, and
Go for it.
I've used it before for similar ones, but Almost Famous.
Okay, yeah.
There's some moments in Almost Famous that like I relate to in a similar way, where it's just like, oh wait, this is actually, I recognize this feeling, this emotion, and there are some moments in there that do like they both do it very subtly in certain ones.
Cool. Last but not least.
Well, I'll go with another coming of age movie that I never would have expected to like as much as I did. The Graduate.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
The Graduate, I saw in college. Never had any interest in it before, but I don't remember which class it was, but it ended up becoming one of my top 20 films of my entire life that I've enjoyed. Top 20 favorite films. Maybe top 10. I'm not sure. I haven't actually made a personal list like that in a while. But I had to... His is post-college. So he is kind of the Timothy in The Graduate, where he's just kind of a douche the whole time. But
Yeah.
it's similar, having a similar ending of, I made all these decisions, I'm not sure if I like them. It's a very similar ending in that way,
Yeah.
where it's just kind of matter-of-fact ending. We're ending now. And in The Graduate,
good luck with your life.
yeah, in The Graduate, it's not happy. You're like, yeah, you made some rash decisions, and you just both ruined both of your lives, and I really hope you can make this work, because I don't think you love each other.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And it's just the same thing with her, is she just didn't seem to really understand what was going to be when she went away to college.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I had that when I went to Chicago a little bit, but not as far away.
Yeah. So that brings today's episode to a close. So plugs. We'll go quick round of plugs. Check out our website, athpod.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes. I haven't been plugging that recently, but they do help us a lot. More rates and reviews we get on iTunes, more likely we end up on Spotify, which is entirely up to our hosting service, but they have partnered with Spotify, so we're supposed to show up there at some point, but we are not top of the ranks. So any motivation to help us would be much appreciated. Anything else? Watch
Superstore Drunk History.
Superstore Drunk History.
Go watch anything from Illumination.
Anything specific you want people to check out?
I mean, no. I mean, DM3 is the only one that I've worked on. So again, watch the special features for my name.
And check out the ads for the Grinch.
Yes. Oh my goodness, they're really cute. The ones from the Olympics were really darling.
They got me interested in the movie because I'm usually the type of person like, no more Dr. Seuss. I'm good with what's out there. This one looks good.
Yay! My heart
And
just grew 2 sizes.
and for Mackenzie,
Check out Angel City Pitbulls on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. See a bunch of cute pictures of dogs.
love dogs.
Puppies. Yay. With big
I like
sad
bags.
braces.
Like caravans.
You love
more.
dogs? Yikes. So thank you everybody for coming out, and
Bye.